Hi, my name is Miriam Temeskin, and this is the Black TV Show podcast. This is where I talk about my favorite TV show episodes, currently talking about Season 2 of The Cosby Show. This is episode 47, The Cosby Show Season 2, episode 24, Off to the Races. This episode aired May 8th, 1986. So we start off in the kitchen with Cliff, happy with his hoagies. He has two of them. As I said, I think in a previous episode that, the assistant of the Cosby Show would drive out to Philadelphia to get these hoagies that we get to see on the show because, the writers would write this in because they want hoagies from Philadelphia. And so, he's happy, he's ready to dig in, and all of a sudden Rudy and Claire come in, and Rudy's not happy after going shopping, and Rudy is upset because, she wants to make a woman, which is a doll, and she, walks on walls and does crazy things, but it costs mega bucks, and so a small doll like that would be $9. When I thought about that, I was like, $9 is not bad, but we gotta think about it. This was 1986, things were way cheaper back then, but if this is nowadays, getting a doll for $9, that's pretty good. But it has a whole family, and you buy one doll and everything else is sold separately, and so it becomes costly, and so Claire comes and she wants a hoagie, and Cliff is like, this is for me, this is not for you. And so Cliff starts talking about how, Colonel Tailwood Turner, if we remember him from season 1. So if you remember from season 1, the episode Back to the Track Jack, we met Colonel Taylor there when he ran against Cliff. They end up tying a game. And so Cliff thinks that he called so he could have a rematch with Cliff. And Cliff was like, well, don't do it, because I know what happened last year after you were in so much pain, and I had to take care of you, my legs, and all of a sudden, during this time, Claire takes one of the hoagies, so she has it, and, she's like saying like, no, I don't want you to do it. And finally, when Cliff gets the soda, he shakes one of the sodas that he ends up giving to her because, he wants her to open it and it's all of her face. And so, and then he went to go get something, and she's about to switch the drinks on him, and then he was like, no, he takes it with him. And then when he comes back to the table, he's like, oh man, I don't know which soda is the one that was shaken. So he puts it back in the fridge and get 2 new sodas. And Claire says, you won, Cliff. You don't need to do a rematch. And Cliff was like, it was a tie. And so Denise comes down, and Cliff asks her, was it a tie? And she's like, yeah, it was a tie. And while she's talking, she ends up getting the soda that is shaken, and it all comes out on her face. And she's like, oh no, And whose fault for that was? It was Cliff. And so he was like, let's watch the tape so we can clarify that this was a tie. And so he goes into in the living room, and Claire tells Denise, like, why did you say that? You should never tell him it's a tie, that he won. And she's like, oh no, I didn't realize that. So Cliff shows the tape to them, and Theo is about to come down the stairs, and he sees what's going on, and he goes back up. Clearly, Cliff has shown this tape too many times to them, to the point where they're all annoyed with him. And, and they show the clip from what we saw in the last season in the episode Back to the Track Jack. And we see it's a tie. And Cliff says, we can... So Theo comes down and says, oh, you were watching the tape? Oh, that's cool. And Cliff was like, let's run it again. And Denise was like, no! And she goes onto the TV and like covers it so like that he can't do anything with it. And Theo says like, oh no, I gotta leave, I gotta go to Cockroach's house. And Denise was like, I will drive you, and they both leave. Claire says, what are you trying to prove with your middle-aged as middle-aged man, you're trying to reclaim your youth. And the phone rings, and we know it's Tailwind Turner. And so Claire was like, I don't want to be part of this decision. Don't don't talk to me about it. I'm out of this. And so he picks up the phone, and we find out that Tailwind doesn't want a rematch. He wants Cliff to run on his team for charity. And it will be at the Penn Relays, which is in Philadelphia. And Cliff, he's trying to get Claire to decide with him, and she's like, I'm out of it. I don't want to talk about it. And, he asks, like, what leg is he going to do? And they're going to give him the anchor leg, which is the last... in the relay, that's the last person to run. That ends up the person that runs to the finish line. And Cliff was like, "Oh, that's the leg of honor and glory." And Cliff is asking who is he running against. And we find out he's running against Charles Stevenson. He used to be very, very, very fit and was able to run super fast, but apparently he has gained some weight. And so Tailwind says, I need to know now. And Cliff was like, accept. He's accepted, and he's going to do it. And we end Act 1, and we go into Act 2. And we see Cliff, he's stretching, and Rudy joins. And she's, like, doing, she's doing splits. Oh, my God. I remember how flexible I was when I was that young. It was so easy to do things. Like, nowadays, my body cannot be that flexible. And I wish it could be. I wish I kept that going. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And, Rudy talks about Mega Woman, how she runs fast. And, Mega Woman is a woman, just like Rudy, because apparently Rudy's already a woman, although she's still a little girl. And so Rudy asks Cliff, can we buy Mega Woman? And Rudy says that she will not ask for any more gifts for the rest of her life. Lies. Girl, you're gonna keep asking for gifts, let's be honest. But Cliff is like, oh, that's a good deal. And Claire comes in, and Cliff is like, let's ask Mom about Mega Woman. And she's like, no, don't say anything. And finally, Claire hears, and she's like, I already told you I'm not gonna pay for it. And Rudy was like, I'll pay for it. And Cliff was like, how? You don't have a job? And she was like, yeah, I can work. I could clean the house and get paid. And Claire was like, that's not a bad idea. You can start off with cleaning the cupboards. And Rudy was like, I'll clean it for $9. And Claire was like, no. You're going to clean it for 50 cents. So she'll do little things in the house that will accumulate to $9. So we cut to later on, and, Claire is cleaning out some silverware. And Cliff we find out Cliff has went out for another run for the day. So Theo asks and says, isn't that too much for him? He's nearly 50 years old. And Claire was like, correct. And Claire corrects him and says, no, he is 49. And Theo was like, well, he's basically 50. He's old age. And Claire was like, so what do you consider middle age? And Theo was like, 25. It's so sad. For me, I am, at the time that I'm recording this, I am 25. So I'm middle age? That's not good, am I gonna have a middle-life crisis? I don't know. And let's be correct on this, Malcolm Jamal Warner is in his 50s now. So, he can't say nothing, like, to say that someone's 50, that's old age. Imagine him hearing that now and be like, ooh, no, that was a wrong thing to say, Of course, this is what the writers wrote for them, but, like, Theo, how dare you? You're making me feel old. And so Claire asks, like, what does that make me? And he says, you're just the right age. And she's like, right, because, if he made her mad, it would be something else, because, we know she's a lawyer. And so Rudy comes in, and she's, like, all in, like, she has a bandana to cover her hair and, like, an apron and all stuff. And she says she's done cleaning, and Rudy goes to Theo and says, you owe me $1 for cleaning his closet. And he was like, I don't. I'd never asked you to clean my closet. And so Rudy was like, okay, well, I'm going to mess it up. And Theo was like, I'm going to mess you up. And so they go. And Cliff, Denise, and Vanessa are back from the track. And, they talk about how weird he was, how he was acting in the car, like, was very strange. And he was like, I was just trying to act like the kids. And he like moved his eyes back and forth and shaked his head and like it was just, it was embarrassing. He was an embarrassing dad. And Vanessa says, though, that when they were at the track, Cliff was fast and he was real handsome at the track. And they all leave. And so Cliff tells Claire that, you know, he saw 19. And Claire was like, 19? And he says he saw a 19-year-old who was practicing and he was, you know, running. And he got to watch him run with speed, power, and bounce. And Cliff says, you know, he would be 19. And so Cliff says, you know, I want to be 19. And, you know, he wants to be 19 with Claire. And Cliff even says, you know, and we'll let the children be 49. So we cut to, it's the middle of the night. We don't know the exact time. And Cliff is practicing in his room, and it's 10.5 hours until the race. And he's like, I don't need sleep. You know, so Claire says, you know, are you sad that the children won't be there? I don't know why they wouldn't be there. I'm not sure if this is a weekday or a weekend. We really don't know. Although if this is like for a charity, I would think this is on a weekend, you know, so your families can see all this stuff. And he's like, no, I'm not sad because, you know, I got Dr. Morrison to record from the time that I step onto the field to the time I do my victory lap, like as if he knows he's going to win. And so, and we'll be able to show the tape to the kids. And Claire was like, well, you're going to show the tape to yourself, basically. You're just going to keep watching it. And so Cliff says, you know, I can run to Philadelphia right now. The only issue is the speed limit is 55 and he might get a ticket. Oh my God. That was funny when I heard that. I was just like, that is funny. But well, let's be honest, you're not that fast, okay? And we'll find out real shortly. And so Cliff says, you know, he doesn't need sleep. And so we end the scene right there. And we're in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at the Penn Relays. And this is an event that actually happens, I believe it's every year. Especially back in the 80s, it was a thing every year. So I want to point out that the portions of this episode were filmed at the Penn Relays, held in Philadelphia at the University of Pennsylvania's Franklin Field. So what we're seeing right now is literally the portion that they recorded. And then I have to mention that Bill Cosby's real life wife, Camille Cosby, makes an uncredited appearance right at this moment. She is sitting next to Felicia Rashad when Claire is sitting in the stands. She has short hair, very beautiful. And so I wonder why they never gave her credit though. I guess it's her husband's show, so really I guess it doesn't really matter. But so there's, you know, the blue and the red team going, and the blue team is leading, and, you know, Cliff is happy that he's going against Charles Stevenson because we can see he has gained some weight. The blue team is winning, and Cliff is able to take the baton from Tailwind Turner, and he starts running, and while he's running, we find out that Larry James, who's on the red team, injures his leg, and they get a substitute to run his leg and to run Charles Stevens' leg, and it's a black woman. She is running super fast, super fast. They don't say who she is yet, and, you know, Cliff is happy because he has this huge lead, and everyone starts cheering loudly, and they're like, so he thinks that they're cheering for him, and then all of a sudden, when the woman goes past her, he realizes, oh no, they're not cheering for me, you know, they're making fun of me. And she, pats Cliff's butt, which is, now that's like not a thing, like with the Me Too movement, that would not be appropriate. But I guess back then it was a fine thing to do. So then she starts running and like passes him, and she of course wins, and we find out she is the 3-time Olympic champion Valerie Biscott Hooks, Cliff gets to the finish line and says, you know, you guys tricked me, you know, he's like pointing to them, you know, you tricked me, and, you know, Claire is happy, she's just like, yes, a woman can beat you at the track. And so we cut to being back into the bedroom in New York City. And Cliff says, they needed a 3-time Olympic medalist to winner to beat me. That's how good I am, he basically said. And Cliff says, I wanted to know why she hit I think he said boom boom. Such a kid terminology right there. And so it hit his butt, like when she passed him by. Like he's like, why did she do that? Claire says she couldn't resist his fine to body. And so Cliff says, he thought for 30 seconds that they were all cheering for him, and then realized they were just making fun of him, basically. And Rudy comes into the room and says, Mega Woman wants to say goodnight to them. And Cliff was like, how is Mega Woman? And Rudy says she's lonely. She misses her whole, Mega family. And Cliff suggests, going tomorrow to the toy store and to return Mega Woman to her family. And she was like, no! And she runs into her room. And we end the episode right there. And so this is now the second episode that deals with track and field running. Since in the 2 seasons that we're currently watching. So I was like, why are they putting track and field why is it such an important thing for this show? Because you don't see it much like that on any other show. So I went to Google and, looked up what, Bill Cosby's life was, back before the show even aired. And it was said that he was awarded a track and field scholarship to Temple University. So he was a track and field runner. That's how he got money for tuition for going to university. So that makes sense why they keep bringing this up on the show, because technically this show is based on his own life, because he had 5 children, being 4 girls and 1 boy, and although he's not a medical doctor, he did have a doctorate degree, a PhD, so it really resembles his life. So I understand now why they incorporate the track and field into the episode. And so, of course, we had a lot of guest stars, most of them being athletes. We had Valerie Briscott-Tooks. She's an Olympian who won 3 gold medals. And, she's an athlete. We have Joshua Culbreth, who played Tailwood Turner again. And he's an athlete. He's won 3-time winner at the event of Penn Relays. So he's been to these actual relays. They really based this episode on real life. And, he's won an Olympic bronze medal winner in 1956. We had, I don't know how to say this name, Damani Abuda. I'm saying that wrong. I'm sorry. I don't know where he is, but I assume he's an athlete also. James Burnett, I'm assuming he's also an athlete. I couldn't find things on these people. Ira Davis, also an athlete. James Hojo, also an athlete, but couldn't find much information. There's Larry James. He won a gold and silver medal at the Olympics. And we have Charlie Stevenson, not sure where he is, not sure if he's an athlete also. There was not much. All these people that were in this episode are not actors. They were athletes. So those were the guest stars for this episode. And the lesson for this episode is that never underestimate your competition. Even if, especially for men, that think that they're better than women. Women are better than men. Okay, let's get that straight. So that's the lesson for this episode. And the question I have for you guys is, were you good at track and fields when you were a kid? Me, no, I hated running. I straight up hate running. I don't even like doing running as a exercise. Like, I rather walk or bike. I'm not running. You cannot make me run unless I'm being chased after. Then that's a different story. But I hate running. It hurts my heart. Okay, that's how bad it is. That lactic acid builds up real quick in my body when I run. So I can't. No, I was not good. But let me know if you were good at track and fields using the hashtag #OffToTheRaces at Black TV Shows Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. That will help get this podcast heard by more people. So that would be fantastic. And the next episode is episode 48. The Cosby Show Season 2, Episode 25, Denise's decision. I can't say decision. Wow, I couldn't say decision. Sorry, I'm saying that so wrong today. I said that so many times throughout this episode. So I apologize, I'm not saying that right. But that is the final episode for Season 2. Man, we've already gone all the way to Season 2. It's crazy. It's almost now been a half a year of doing this podcast, which is crazy to think. I will all talk to you guys on the next one.